so with Gibson, and I was gearing up to do a
Oh,
bunch of
hello.
Melodyne
I think
tutorials.
we're going live. We're going live.
Oh,
Yep. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about that in a second. But
yeah,
we
go for
are
it.
live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host Adam Steele, and this is the Hop Pole Position podcast, where we talk about music tech and guitar. As you can see on the right here, this is not Liam. Say hello, Mr. Scott Elliott from Chernobyl Studios.
What the hell? I thought I was Liam. Hi.
Oh, you can be Liam for a little while if you want.
No, I'm good. I prefer Scott. I'm happy with that. Hey,
Good
everybody.
stuff.
Happy to fill in. Nice to see
Hey,
y'all.
the internet quality seems to have gone a little weird for your Discord. Hopefully that'll just come back.
Sure.
But
Like everything
tonight,
else in our life.
I'm drinking Old Speckled Hen, which is a very English ale. Feel free to drink along. And tonight we're going to be talking about Melodyne 5 that's new that came out, as well as new iOS stuff, the new BBC sample packs, new Ibanez guitars, Mua reverbs, and a course all about how to get great virtual guitar tones. Let's run the intro! And that's right, as that sign said there, the Hot Pole Position is brought to you by you through Patreon. So big thanks to all our Patreon supporters, because you help to keep the lights on and keep us doing cool things like this. So yes, welcome,
Awesome, dude.
welcome everybody. Scott, how are you?
Doing well. It's Friday
Good.
night. My day job is over. I have all the other things I need to do basically done.
Hang on. Friday night?
Wait, what day is it today?
It's
Thursday
Thursday.
night. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I mean, hey, if your working day is over, great, but
No.
Scare me like
that. Yeah, my bad. That's what happens when you work from home actually all the time.
yeah.
You never know what day it is. It's just, oh, it's Thursday today. Oh, it's Tuesday today. And especially when you do your own studio stuff, Saturday, Sunday, usually you're doing some kind of work anyway. So it never matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why my video quality's kind of gone down the hill.
Just going to pause some stuff here that might hopefully clear it up, because this laptop is screaming and trying
Dying.
desperately. There we go, that's cleared it up.
Yeah, there we go. We got a little bit better. You can see my big majestic beard.
Yes.
You can see the gray hair in it now.
All
Good
four
God.
pixels of it.
Hey,
Awesome.
Man. Bigger than yours.
Yeah, that's true. I've been growing this, no word of a lie, 5 years now. I am not.
Are you
I am not.
serious?
Yeah, I'm not a hirsute man, and I'm not kidding you. Like,
Dude, my face looks like that in 2 weeks, probably.
Yeah. This is my lack of arm hair. I don't, like, shave or wax my arms or anything. I just don't have hairy anything, really.
That's got to be an English thing.
Maybe. Maybe it's my Irish heritage. Don't know. But yeah, all the days have blurred together. It's been absolutely weird. I had a night off last night, which was the first time in forever, and I feel like I shouldn't have stopped because the inertia today just kicked right in.
Gotta wake up, you're like, oh, God, I feel like doing, oh, yeah, nothing.
Well, I'll tell you how bad it was today. I've been looking after Ivy, my daughter, all day, and at about 6:30, I handed her off to my partner so I could get set up for the stream, turn the lights in the stream on, and then I went to bed for half an hour. I was just like, right.
Yep.
Yeah,
we have a daughter too. She's 1 year younger than yours, but I mean, my wife stays home. She doesn't have to work. But anyway, even so, like having the team always together, still, it's basically you have those moments where you're like, you get her out of here, I'm throwing her out the fucking window. Right? I mean, you get those moments, but I mean, it's just people who aren't parents don't understand it, and you're not gonna actually do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just.
But it's just that
Get
little
her out.
kind of ah.
Yeah, get her out.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah. When when they're all cute, and then suddenly you look down and the floor's covered in wax crayon, and you're like, oh no.
What happened? When did this happen? When did you have time to do this?
Yeah. I blinked and what are this? There we
Yeah,
go.
so like we're pretty lucky. I don't know, lucky, I don't know, but she's like wants to do everything herself, to include eating. But that's also dependent on her mood. Like sometimes she eats flawlessly,
Mm.
like doesn't spill anything. One day, like another time, she'll like two threes, with the spoon.
Yeah.
Then she'll literally just put the spoon down and be like,
Yeah. Food, face, everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, that never really stops. I mean, I'm still like that, and I'm in my mid-30s. I still do that.
well, it's expected. You know what I mean? But, I mean, shit. Sometimes, but the worst part about it is both my wife and I are sort of like we want to keep things relatively clean. We're not clean freaks,
Yeah.
but as you can see, we like to keep things more or less in an order,
Yeah.
and so we have to just like sweet baby Jesus, when she's rubbing herself in food because we just don't know what to do with ourselves.
We've resorted before to having like a little paddling pool in the back garden and putting her in that to eat.
Dude, that's not a shitty idea at all. That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, when she's in that kind of mood, at the end you can just get the hose out and be like, right, hold still.
Sure. Yeah, cold water doesn't bother them that much. Cold water, they're like, oh, okay, whatever, it's normal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's bizarre. But yeah, apart from last night where I had a night off, I've been really busy. I've been working. I'm going to be producing some new impulse responses, actually with 2 companies, and I think I'm under NDA on both. So there are big announcements that are going to come up there. Awesome. So it's really exciting. But every waking second,
the K100. K100, please. K100.
Oh yeah. Well, I sent you the K100, didn't I, to try?
Know. But are you doing? So you're putting these in your own cabs, right? Or you can't really talk about it.
Yeah. Well, everybody who watches the channel knows that I'm a huge fan of Zillow cabs, and that I have a lot because they're already available for sale through 2 Notes. So that's right. No big secret. That's very well known, and I think one of the speakers on there right now is a Celestion K100, which it was actually one of the first speakers that I got in my first Zillow, but I didn't like it. I at the time at least felt it was very kind of honky in the mids, but then I wasn't using amps at the time that suited that, if you know what I mean. Now I'm doing heavier and heavier stuff, and I've got some really heavy sounding amps that I didn't have then. And it'll probably work quite well right now. My Fat Boy now.
The Fat Boy now what? Sorry, I cut
Sorry,
you off.
So the Fat Boy is the 212, the really deep one.
Yeah.
And that's now still got physically the K100 and which speaker was it? The Creamback Neo. Those are the 2 that are in there right now. And that seems to be quite a nice mix. So that's the IR that I sent to you to try out.
Yeah, the science of that has to be amazing because the speakers themselves are one thing, but the way they interact with the wood and the build of the cab.
Yeah.
You could put a V30 in an angle, you put a V30 in a Mesa. Drastically different sounds.
Oh yeah,
so I'm very curious. Like what a Zillow would sound like if you just went a vanilla V30 in there.
Yeah.
Does it sound more like a Mesa? Does it sound like more like an Angle? Does it have more of a Marshall 1960 feel to it?
Yeah.
Is it like a Uber cab? It's very interesting to me because it would be cool if you could find a way to get an Angle-esque sound, but calm down those fucking highs a little bit.
Well, that would be easy. Get an Angle cab and take the stupid metal grill off the front.
Yeah, besides that, but I mean, there's this very significant, distinct Angle sound with an Angle cab. I think it's probably just it's maple, right? I believe it's wrapped, or it's done in maple. I don't remember.
I think there's part of that.
Siberian something.
Yeah, there's different woods used around the world. I know that a lot of American cabs they use pine, which is very plentiful in America. but apparently it's a real bitch on your tools. Whereas a lot
Yeah, it's
of
a really hard wood.
European cabs are made out of birch because that's much more plentiful. It's a very different tone. And so
Yes.
all the Zillow stuff, like proper Marshall stuff, is made out of birch
All right.
ply. But they do all the little things like traditional guys do, like with Zillow. They do the original carpenter's thing where they'll cut each piece of wood, like the side and the top. They'll cut fingers out so that they perfectly slot in
I get it.
before they even use any glue or anything like that. It already is just rigid.
So build quality is really high. Nice.
Really high. Yeah, but they also go as far as to talk about different thicknesses of wood and different thicknesses of the back and the baffle. And yeah, so that's how I've ended up being a big fan of Zillow stuff, because they really go to the nth detail and all that kind of stuff. And because it's handmade one by one, if you're crazy and you call them and you say, well, I want a different thing, I want this, they just kind of write that down and go, okay, cool.
But don't they have like a like a off the shelf type of market model that they ship out, or is it all really?
They have a
Because
few.
if they're all handmade, that means they're all different sounding.
Yes, I mean they have a formula for some of the more well-known models, like the Fat Boy's the more well-known one, which has a set of dimensions and all that kind of thing. I mean, with something as physically large as a cabinet, I mean, yeah, each piece of wood's going to resonate a little differently, but
Sure.
you could say that for any brand, I guess, because there's a subtle difference because the physical.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But like the thing that gravitated me towards them originally is that the Fat Boy, it's as deep as a big 4x12, which most 2x12s, if you look at them from the side, they're actually really shallow. Because most guys who use 2x12s, I think, and this is my thinking, this isn't quoting anybody, I think most 2x12 guys traditionally were guys who would use like a Fender combo, or maybe like we're after a Vox kind of sound. No. So whenever metal guys would try a 2x12, they'd be like, oh, 2x12 sounds really bad. It's like, no, it doesn't. But the ones that you've used do sound bad because they don't do what you want, which is like the depth and the thickness of the wood and all that kind of stuff. So that's
the real wormhole of it all. Like people are focusing on all the wrong shit with tones, and everyone starts going like, I need the guitar, I need this. It's like, actually, like the politically correct, actually, you need a good cab, and you need to actually learn what speaker type you like.
Yeah,
because
the speaker type's a huge part of the sound. Yeah,
and and then the rabbit hole goes even further. It just never ends. It's just one of those things where you just have to decide, okay, this is what I like, and I'm gonna go with this now. You could just experiment forever. Just a single speaker. And then you can get, if you got a 2x12, you pair it with another speaker, and there's another endless amount of combinations you can go with. I mean, no one's stopping you from having a 4x12 with 4 completely different speakers in it.
No, and that's something I've done. One of my 4x12s has 4 completely different speakers in it, but you have to be careful then to match the sensitivity of the speakers so they're all roughly equal volume, because otherwise if you've got one that's less sensitive, it gets drowned out.
Sure.
And its character doesn't come through.
But I mean, you only know that when you learn about the magnets and how everything works, and you learn about speakers, because that's when you get your sound. I mean, everyone's using a Mesa cab right now. I just by default, I refuse to use Mesas on any of my client stuff. Not because I hate the sound, they're so easy to work with too. I could have any Mesa Impulse. You can have 5 minutes. You got a tone. They're that easy to work with, but everybody and their mother uses it. I don't want to use it personally, so I went to Angle for that reason. But they're hard to work with sometimes. If you want a super high gain sound, too much presence, not enough presence. Jesus Christ! And then you're just sitting there. It's literally like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Where a Mesa can be more broad, like this sounds good in this area.
Yeah, because it doesn't have
matter.
that big like resonance, no resonance, resonance, spiky all over the show thing. Yeah. But it's, yeah, I mean, John in chat just said like 4x8 sheet of birch plywood is like $50 or more. So in the US, birch is way more expensive,
right?
Because it's a European, or at least I think it's Eastern European wood.
Yeah, it's a like the Angle's all Siberian birch. Actually, if I think about it.
Yeah, because it's an area where it just grows for fun in that climate. So for us, it's relatively inexpensive because you can just get it, and it doesn't really grow in America. So it's
only in northern colder regions.
Maybe, yeah. Which
for
whatever
I'm
reason,
from northern Wisconsin, so there were birch trees up there. Birch trees, evergreen, maple,
right?
But all the hardwoods. So
I'm maybe there's something about not being able to cut them down though for whatever reason. I'm just speculating there.
You cut firewood, and you'll learn real quick why you don't want to fucking cut maple.
Right. Because it's sticky.
You'll be sharpening your saw once an hour, or more.
Ooh.
It's just it's very hard wood to cut through and heavy.
Right.
So, but I mean, it lasts longer, of course, when you burn it. But I mean, there's again the pros and cons of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah. I have this really weird prototype 4x12 cab that I think you would absolutely love. And it's a proper Doom cab. It's taller than a normal 4x12.
Nice.
It's got like 4 speakers kind of stacked almost like a diamond. So it's kind of slightly thinner, slightly taller. It's got a solid back as well. You have to mount the speakers from the front. Which it's a lot like the old Sun cabs, you know, the kind of Doom metal Sun brand.
That's interesting.
And yeah, that's got the deepest, chunkiest sound of any cab I think I've ever had. So
what do you load it with?
So it's got a vintage 30 because, of course.
Of course.
Well, a lot of the time I just want that sound. An Alnico Cream. That thing that really shines because it's basically what the vintage 30 was supposed to be originally.
That's a different argument for a different time.
Yeah. It's got a red back, which is like all the low end.
Using those red backs more often, huh?
Yeah, love the red back. And I've just put a classic greenback in there as well, a 25-watt greenback, which is quite a bit brighter and quite a bit raspier.
I was going to say, there's where all the high end's coming from.
Yeah, but because I can close mic with my choice of which one I want, I kind of you
just like put a microphone in the if it's in a diamond setup, could you put your microphone where basically you get all 4, and then you got to pull the microphone out, and then you get more higher frequency problems and white noise with the greenbacks and stuff. But
to get that,
you get like a full body tone.
No, it'd have to be like 4 or 5 feet back to get that. By which point all the low end's gone.
Yeah, that's too far.
Yeah.
So you'd have to close mic every single speaker and then mix it in.
It's not that unusual for me to have 3 mics on a cab as long as I really make sure they're all phase aligned.
Right.
Which takes a little time, but if you've got some experience with it, it's not as much of a time waste as people think it is once you've done it 100 times. So
delay like the millisamples, and that also, I mean.
Yeah, so
it's like you got an onboard mixer into the DAW. You can probably just do some short delays from the mixer and then into the DAW. It lines up.
That's kind of what I do, is that I'll set 3 or more maybe mics up on the cab where I want them positionally. Then I'll fire a couple of pulses through, and then just record that and watch them, and usually they line up, and if one's slightly early or slightly late because the capsule's in the wrong place, I can look at that, and if it's further back, I can be like, right, need to move that mic forward a little, or the other way, move the mic back a little, try it again until it's right, and then I run a guitar chord through it, and usually just go, yes, okay, let's go.
Nice.
And then I've got
That's cool.
that blend then that I can play with. And usually for me, that's a condenser, a 57, and a ribbon of some kind.
Oh,
And I
that
can,
makes sense because you got one of each different microphone type.
yeah. So I've got super high bandwidth in the condenser. I've got peaky as hell in the 57, and the ribbon's
Right.
got all the low end chunky woof woof.
Exactly.
But then later in mixing, if I decide that like these guitars have got too much low end, I'll just mute the ribbon.
You
That
can
kind of
mute
thing.
it or mute it at the low end. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
turn it way down.
yeah. And that really depends what I'm going for, because then I've got all those options. But I'll then just have them on faders. I'll then tweak the levels until the blend of them is something I'm
Right.
happy with. Then they're in a folder, so then I just do my EQ work or whatever on the folder, and that's it. I move on. I don't think about it anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it takes
That's
a
a
little
lot of
work,
fun.
but it's another thing that
Oh,
gives me that 3D kind of thing. I've always been chasing 3D guitar tones.
Well, and that's the difference between like I say, everyone will just use a Mesa with the same exact, the Andy Sneap tone, as it's affectionately called now,
Mm.
because Andy Sneap basically made it popular.
Yes. Well, I mean,
There's nothing
Sneap.
wrong with it. Oh, let me just time out real quick. I have no problem with the tone. It's
Yeah.
fine, great. Just not
been-
everyone has to have
yeah,
it.
it's been done a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it works. All right, it's fantastic. Got it. Great. But
Mhm.
even just throw an R20 121 on there, you got a difference already. So
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the news. The news.
trouble of some kind now.
Usually Liam plays a sample at this point, but he's not here tonight, so I will make the sample myself, and the sample is actually a clip of me going, the news. So you're not missing much.
Here's the news.
So our first article for this evening, Melodyne 5 is out, because we've been on Melodyne 4 now for a long time, and I use Melodyne far more than I would like to. Let's put it that way. Because a lot of either really old engineers or really young engineers all go, oh, you don't need Melodyne, or you should just get the singer to do it again. It's like, yeah, after take 300, when you really realise this guy's not getting any better than this, it's like, okay, time to go to work.
I have Melodyne 4. I got it when I was cooperating with Cakewalk, when it was still with Gibson. I was slated to do a bunch of Melodyne 4 tutorials in Cakewalk, and then the rest is history.
Right.
But in my kind of music, I really don't have a use for Melodyne.
Right.
Very rarely. Very rarely.
Oh, I don't know, because I love bands like Fear Factory, and where you got that industrial thing and suddenly it's this big operatic vocal. If you listen to early Fear Factory, Burton Bell couldn't really sing for Toffee at the time. If I could have gone back and just melodined it in a little.
Dude, I mean, he was okay. I mean, no. So, like, Soul.
I mean,
of the
he got
Machine,
good.
obviously. Yeah, raw. Definitely raw. Demanufacture, better. Obsolete is my personal love the shit out of that album.
Right.
Demanufacture, or excuse
Demanufactures
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Digimortal, what a fucking disappointment. Archetype, same. I'm not a huge fan of Fear Factory after the core team broke up.
I suppose Strapping Young Lad really kind of came up and went, if you're going to do it, this is how you should do it. It's like, oh.
Yeah. But, I mean, Demanufacture and Obsolete are the two that I still have them on my playlist. They'll still pop up my playlist to this day.
Yeah.
So.
I still have things like Self-Bias Resistor will come up every now and again, which is a fantastic intro. Yep. It's just one note for anybody who doesn't know it, but it just goes...
Yeah.
It's it's the definition of industrial music, because it just sounds like a plant room just going crazy. Yeah. But anyway,
Zero Signal it was a fucking great song from the manufacturer also.
Yeah. So Melodyne 5 is out, and it's got things like finally it detects and makes a note of sibilance separately from the rest of the note. Now, for me, that's a pretty big deal because that means that can spell all the sibilance out to me. I mean, in Reaper, I already have the spectral peaks thing going, so I can usually see sibilance. But if it just so happens that a singer's done a good take, but there's one that's really, really standing out, if I can see it in something like Melodyne and just go, less of you, please, that means I don't have to have a really crazy de-esser. So I get to keep more detail. Yeah. I generally have a de-esser on a track as kind of like a safety, with the threshold pretty much above the regular S's, but if I didn't need that, because I could just pull one down, then that'd be great. So people are asking
I just do automation. You know, I mean, it sucks ass, but if I really need to, I'll automate.
Yeah. I mean, call me lazy, but I try not to automate wherever possible. But yeah, people are asking, wherever possible, I do automate. Just, I've got a bit of an old school mentality in that, like, if I can throw the faders up on the desk and press play and it's pretty much there, it's pretty much there.
Right.
But then if there's things that need tweaking, then I go to town on the automation.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, that's my way of working.
No, it's just different styles of music. You know, when you get like 240 BPM and fucking 30-second note double kick rolls, you have a bass bump. You got to automate them down. You know, it's different.
Right, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, people are asking how much this is, and it depends.
It's very affordable.
Well, it depends which version, and it depends if you already have anything. Like, I have Melodyne 4 Assistant, so for me, upgrading to Melodyne 5 Assistant is €49. I'm guessing there aren't too many huge new things updated for me, because the version that I use is the one above the Essentials, because I need all the things like modulation and drift to be changeable, but I don't need polyphonic or any of that kind of stuff. I had Melodyne Studio for a while back at Melodyne 2, and found that I just didn't need it, and it was a lot of money, and just it's an overkill. So yeah, no, I don't have the studio version because I do not need it. If you were to buy Melodyne 5 Studio outright, that would be €700, but that's the top tier, without any upgrade pricing, and that's the one where I think you get like 8 channels or more of kind of synchronized tuning, so you can do clever harmonies and all that kind of stuff in there, which, let's say, for me is not necessary. But yeah, for me,
you had a system, right? So you would need to spend €450. Am I reading that right?
To upgrade to Studio, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to upgrade from 4 Assistant to 5 Assistant, so I'm paying €49 because I don't need. I mean, apparently, it can do things now, like it can work out chord voicings and stuff on polyphonic guitars, and there's some really clever stuff in there. But I don't need the polyphonic stuff. Yeah, chord track and pitch grid, so you can do some very clever stuff. But yeah.
By the way, thanks, Mark, for the compliment about the course. We'll talk about that later. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and pop them in the comments.
Yes, after the news, we are having a whole section talking about the guitar tone mastery course. So
some bullshit course that somebody thought of, probably.
Yeah, some guy. What a knob.
What an idiot, yeah.
So, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about that are both iOS related. I did a series. So Assistant is the version you use. I said that like 4 times. I use Melodyne 4 Assistant.
And you don't need to have Studio version.
No. Bias Effects to mobile app. I don't know, because I use my iPad sometimes for recording stuff, and back at one time, Amplitude was the only option. It was terrible.
I think Nimbrini Audio's got a version. I would probably go with that one before I go with Bias.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been able to get some really exciting sounds out of Bias.
No, I say if anyone if okay, I guess Mark's got my course. If you read my PDF about amp simulator recommendations, I blatantly say bias sucks. Don't buy it. I do not like it.
It's
I just call it the fuzz machine.
funny that actually I found that most of the issue with it was the cab. The cab sim's terrible.
It's always
Um,
like that. You can THU's the same. You know what I mean? Not THU. I mean, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I mean these big box
yeah,
uh amp sim companies.
but like I was, with bias effects, and this is the new on bias effects too, which is kind of nicer because it's got nice like transformer saturation and stuff. You can switch out their whole cab section for the like Celestian impulses, and those
Nice.
change the whole game. So it's it's a lot better if you do that. If that's the way you're going to play, is specifically on mobile. And another thing you can do is you can add other iOS plugins. And I've got an iOS plugin called Fiddlicator, which is a really weird name, but you can load custom impulse responses.
What's the name of it?
Fiddlicator.
Fiddle
Yeah,
Licator.
it was originally designed for fiddle players
Oh, all right. Okay, that makes sense.
who have like pizzo pickups. So
Gotcha.
the idea originally, I think, was for those guys to load custom impulses in, but then it got hijacked by the guitarists who were like, custom IR loader, yoink.
That's mine.
Yeah, exactly. It's like custom IR loader in BIOS effects, you say. Sold.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so that's the thing that changes BIOS effects as it stands with the cabs. I mean, it's the same for me with like Line 6 Helix. I hate the sound of the inbuilt cabs. And nobody I know who has a Helix and swears by it uses the regular cabs. They all just load impulses in.
Yep.
It's a long
I have.
established thing that the cabinet responses in a lot of this software is just poor.
And why is that? Because it is by far the most important aspect of
Yeah,
getting a good tone.
I think a lot of these companies are finally starting to wake up to that and realize that, oh, no matter how much we do some sort of like proprietary analog filtering system, it just isn't the same.
Doesn't work. Yep.
Yeah. Talking of THU.
I got nothing wrong with THU is fine. I remember using, what the hell was it called? Overloud version 1 point something. This was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Right.
Before it was Overloud. I can't remember the name of it.
Who's it by?
Because there was popular, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, really popular stuff was like Revolver.
Yeah, Revolver was PV.
Yeah. Which has all been left behind now. I mean...
Yeah, I got an email off the Revolver guys yesterday, actually. I believe that's now a separate company, has kind of been let go by PV, so it's kind of still going, but under a different banner. Not sure about that. But yeah...
I mean, it's really hard. I mean, those old companies, you just got to refactor the code and redo everything again.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I mean, the old thing about stuff like Revolver was they're like, oh, we've modeled it down to the component level. You can change the components, and I go, yeah, but does it sound any good?
Yeah, that's the age-old question. Does it sound cool?
If you got like a static representation of this capacitor and a static representation of this valve, it's gonna sound pretty static by the end of it.
Whoop-de-doo, I'm gonna go back to the poo LE456 and let me know when this sounds good.
Oh, yeah. I used to use the Lecto all the time. The rectifier, man.
I don't know what that guy did and how he managed to do that, because you got to remember that stuff was 6 years ago.
More than that, I'm sure.
He was pulling plugins like that 6, 7 years ago. The LE456 hasn't been updated for a solid 5 years. Yeah, I think.
It's been a long time. Last time I checked, his Blogspot website was down.
Yeah,
The
gone.
real shame for me with his stuff is there was a little sound clip demo on there of his new upcoming cab sims, and they sounded incredible, and they never came out.
Shit, I wonder what happened to him. He's so
Yeah,
famous. It's just, no one. I mean, Jesus.
we'll never know, I guess. Just one of those
I
people who
guess
was
we
just like,
won't.
nope, I'm done. It's like,
Yeah, I don't know, but that was like LE456 was my jam. Obviously, it's Angle,
yeah, you're
big
an angle
Angle guy.
guy, yeah. For
And
for me,
so
it was the Hybrid and Lecto were the two that I used the most often, and I would use the Bogner one quite a bit on people's mixes. Ended up getting some really nice sounds out of the Let Ecstasy. Yeah.
yeah, I can say that. But the hybrid, what was it? Was that supposed to be an 800 or a 900?
It was an 800 and a Plexi on a Switch.
Gotcha. All right,
Yeah, so it had them both, which is where the hybrid came from.
I get it. All right. I said this was before when I actually understood anything about. I didn't use it. Like, what? There's no gain on this thing.
Yeah.
LE456.
Yeah, when you
'Cause I
put
didn't
something
know
like
any
a
better.
clon in front of it, and suddenly you're like, whoa! Something I've got into recently is like, this is kind of a clon, but
Yeah.
this is actually a Muskie that cost me £23. And I stick this in front of my Marshall, and suddenly the Marshall, it was a disappointment. Suddenly I'm going, click, whoa! Okay, we're off.
So what do we got going on with the THU? I see a Marshall here.
So
I see everything.
that's out, but it's one of those. It's weird. There's a free version, but then you can buy apps separately for €5.49, which means that'll add up quickly unless you know exactly what amp models you wanted.
It's like the custom shop, which I hate.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't. I kind of like the Amplitude custom shop because I've bought one custom amp that I use and have not had to pay for the whole of Amplitude.
Yeah, I get that, of course. But I mean, if you want a tube streamer, I think it's $10.
Oh
That's
god,
a little
yeah.
silly.
I paid £25 for the Ampeg SVT Classic. And the Amplitude SVT Classic is close enough for most mixes that I want to do that I'm playing it back going, yeah, okay. Yeah, that'll
Sweet.
do nicely. Because a lot of the stuff that I do is like just classic rock or pop punk, and you want that Ampeg low end with the grind kind of thing.
That's the one where you get the. No, I don't want to say like a high mid grind, but it's a high mid sound, right?
It's got
The
a high mid
slap
kind
and
of
the
thing
attack.
in it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a 300-watt valve head, so it's got, when you push it a little, it's got some real growl.
Yeah. Cannibal Corpse used those all the time in the early years.
Yeah, well,
Actually, I think you said with Ampeg. I just don't know what amp specifically Alex is using.
if it's a guitarist, it's probably a V4. I always wanted a V4B because the V4B is the bass one that's only 100 watts. Because the SVT Classic is amazing, but if you can imagine 300 watts of valve noise.
We just turn that down, dude. It's not even on 1 yet.
Yeah, literally every gig, they're just like, please turn it down. And you're like, if I look at it funny, I'll turn it down.
Right.
It's like, it's too loud. It's still on standby.
Yeah, not doing anything.
Yeah. Absolutely insane amps they are. They're beautiful, but they're a real pain to maintain as well, apparently. They've got such high DC voltage in that they kill a lot of people. A lot of amp techs won't work on SVTs because they're so lethal compared to most amps.
No shit. I did not know that.
Yeah. I do know a guy who's like the amp legend, guy called Roland Lumby, and he's quite happy to work on SVTs, but he's got so much knowledge and is so safe on it all that, yeah, he's not bothered. But for a lot of people, yeah, whoa. But they're so heavy as well that this guy, he's in his 70s, he's got like a hoist and winch in his workshop because he physically can't lift them.
Right.
Yeah, they're so heavy.
Well, dude, these are the ones that are like 3 foot, 4 foot tall, right?
Yeah, so they're sat on the Ampeg 8x10 that everybody calls the fridge.
Yeah, the 8x10.
So,
Okay.
Yeah. and the head is as heavy, if not heavier, than the cab.
Right.
Yeah.
300 watts.
Yeah, it's literally the weight of 3 100-watt guitar heads. The transformer is about the size of my head. It's that's only.
Suddenly, being a drummer is not so bad, Adam. I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy hauling my bells up the stairs.
Oh yeah. You can bring your absolute insane drum kit up piece by piece, and the bass player's just like. Yeah.
Somebody help me, please.
Yeah. I bought an Ampeg 8x10 a few years back for the studio, and I loved it. And then I had to bring it up some stairs for a video shoot. I sold it the next week.
Fuck this. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I'm calling Paul from Zillow going, hey, do you do something like that, but like a 2x10 with that kind of sound?
Yeah, that doesn't weigh, I don't know, 70 kilo.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if I can get a 2x10 bass cab that sounds like the 8x10 and get the Ampeg V4B, which isn't nearly that heavy, then I'm set. Oh, plus I still need to get myself another Sans amp pedal, because I had a Sans amp and then I traded it because I'm an idiot.
Why would you fucking do that?
Well, actually, I had a Sans amp rack unit and I sold it because I bought this amp called a Landmark, which is 2 Sans amps strapped to a power section.
Continue.
And then later on, I was really hard up for money and ended up selling that, thinking, you know what, I'll just get myself an old Sans amp pedal again. Just never got around to it.
Well,
But I will. I'll get around to
probably if you want, you could probably do something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. But then I started finding out about tones like...
See what you're doing.
That was around the time that the Dark Glass B7K became a big thing, and then I nearly ended up buying one of those, and then they come out with the Ultra, then they come out with the amp, and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, well, what do I do?
You get the plugin where you get both.
Exactly. And so it's like,
That's what I
all
did.
software for me, then. Yeah.
I can't read the text here. It's all pixely. I don't know what happened.
Oh. Well, you're going to hate this next article, then.
God, what does it say?
So it says, best new sample packs, a BBC orchestra, Asian instruments, lo-fi soul, and a toy keyboard. So this is
that from,
gearnews.com's rundown of some stuff. There's a Sample Science toy keyboard. It's based on one of those old, like, 8-bit keyboards. Ugh.
Pass. Fucking read this.
Triple spiral audio heartbeats. Apparently it's an Omnisphere thing. Not bothered. The one that I'm interested in, the one that a lot of people have been recommending to me, is Spitfire Audio's BBC Symphony Orchestra.
Oh boy.
Apparently there's a free version.
Sure, but it's probably got one mic position and you don't have all the articulations.
Well, yeah, of course. You pay for all the clever stuff.
Yeah, but dude, again, when you do stuff like this, for example, most people who are working in metal or my stuff, unless they're not Fleshed Out Apocalypse, you can get like a light edition of like Miroslav some Philharmonic.
Yeah.
And that'll do you fine. This shit is really for hardcore professionals and people who can actually write orchestration. It gets insane. It's like, think of East West, what it used to be like 10 years ago. East West. It's like, oh, this is amazing. It's way more complex now.
Thing is, it's been getting a lot of praise. I reckon part of that is because it's got the word BBC in the name. Because it's like, oh, it must be good. Like, I heard Jordan Rudess, from Dream Theater, one of the best keyboard players in the world, without a shadow of a doubt, doing a full demo of this, and I was listening, going, meh.
Yeah, that's
meh. And this is a guy who's used some orchestra sample libraries live, and I've been there with my jaw on the floor, going, you mean this isn't an orchestra? And this thing he's playing, and I'm going, heh.
Synthie probably was, huh?
Might have been. I mean, that guy's sponsored by everybody, and I'm not really exaggerating there, because he is like the number one guy.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so I've seen him do stuff with East West. I've seen him do stuff with Vienna. I've seen him do stuff where he's got racks upon racks of stuff where he's using literally all of them all at once, layered. And you're just like,
Yeah.
blah, what?
The Metropolis Arc. That is an amazing library worth checking out.
Oh, it's all unisons, no solo instruments for this. I mean, it might be
There you
worth
go.
getting for when we're doing like symphonic metal. And when
That's
you,
what I'm talking about. You just get the main patches where there's just like sustains. You don't even need legatos that much because typically they're behind everything else.
yeah. Yeah, then you get the poor keyboard player who's like, I spent 3 weeks doing this, and it's beautifully constructed, and then you get over the top, and all you can hear is, it's like, all
Nice.
your work was wasted. Ha ha ha.
Nice.
But yeah, that'll be interesting. So that is free. A version of it is free at the
Yeah.
moment. So check that out. If I get time, I'll check that out. But I really don't have any time right now. So next news article, something that kind of piqued my interest is there's a new plugin by Cornef called the Talkback Limiter, which is modeled on the SSL console Talkback Limiter, which is a really, really aggressive, over-the-top, completely insane compressor. And I think that'll be really interesting for like creative stuff if you want to have like an absolutely smashed drum sound or
On the rooms or something like
exactly, or just like absolutely kill the entire drum section for like a feature, or maybe dry wet blend a little bit of that in.
That
But-
could be interesting.
Yeah, these are actually from real life as well. They're not like, it's not some imaginary thing. They're designed so that when you've got literally anybody in the control room, you can press this button on a real console, and anybody in the control room can be heard in the live room without you having to shout. Which means it sounds disgusting, but you can have a conversation. And then you turn that off again, you hit record, and everybody forgets about it. But at some point, somebody heard drums being played through a Talkback Limiter and was like, we have to have this. And
Gotta try it.
what happened? I can feel it coming. That's what happened.
Wasn't that? No. See,
Yeah,
wasn't-
I'm pretty sure it was.
It's the gate sound. That's what you're talking about. The gate, right?
I think that's how it
That
ended up.
really fast-
But the inspiration
Yeah.
was they did this.
Yeah. It was a complete fucking accident,
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware. Yeah. Because somehow they came up with that gate reverb sound.
I believe it was this, and then they slapped a gate on that somehow.
I can believe it. Phil Collins.
Yeah, this and it was probably a year or two afterwards that digital reverbs could be programmed to do that, because I mean nobody had really thought about it before. It's like, why would you want that? And then you hear it and you go, that's why you want that.
1982, and god damn it, in 1983 we want the biggest reverb possible.
Yeah.
Sabrina's coming out in 5 years. We need some reverb.
Yeah. Oh yes. It's funny. I'm a big fan of some bands that went right through the 80s. Like, it's no secret I'm a massive Rush fan.
Sure.
And if you listen to an album they did in 82, it's got a couple of like guitar reverbs on, but mostly it's dry. Then you listen to this,
bone.
Then you listen to stuff in 84, and you're like, reverb. And then there's an album they did in well, they had some, but the album they did in 85, I kid you not, there's a band in there somewhere under all that reverb.
Can't find it.
Yeah.
It's like, they went really off the rails doing the synth stuff and this fucking Rockenberger bass, I think.
Oh,
Just looks like a
Steinberger. Yeah.
Yeah, the Steinberger, sorry.
Yeah. Apparently,
Oh,
he only played that because he had so many synths at that point on stage. It was the only way not to break them with the bass, was to get a smaller bass.
Guess. It's just so ugly, dude.
Yeah, And it was a few years later, they all looked at each other and went, "What are we doing?" And
the
just kind of
fuck?
stopped. It's like,
Right back.
no more synths now.
No, Moving Pictures that's the album you mean, right? Moving Pictures, where it's literally bone dry, the whole fucking drum sound.
Yeah,
not a shred of reverb.
that is very true. That's from '81. I meant Signals, but yeah,
Oh.
Moving Pictures is dry, and then everything before that is really dry as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it goes up to Signals as really dry, and then suddenly it's just not. And it's just like, whoa, okay, you guys made the '80s.
Sure. Well, you can never say that Rush didn't experiment or try. They had a fucking rap song, for Christ's sake. I mean, they literally tried everything. And whatever.
Yeah.
Gave it a go.
Absolutely.
But that was different back then. You could make an album and it could more or less not do well. And be like, well, don't do that again. Off to the next one.
Yeah. We'll have another album out next year. It'll be fine.
Yeah, no, every album has to be like, dude, you got to move 100,000 copies or you're off the label. It's like,
but especially when Rush got that big that they could be like, oh, well, this one failed. We only sold 400,000. It's like, well, okay, well, if that's a failure in your book, sure. Yeah.
But, I mean, like anyone, like you're born in the 80s. I'm assuming I'm born in the 80s, so
yeah.
Listening to Rush and then all the 80s pop, it's just part of life right there.
Absolutely. I've still got all the classic
fan.
vinyl downstairs from that era, and there's some real pleasures to listen to.
My mom's got it all, and I have no idea. I'll never hear anything, but I mean, I remember listening to Metallica on vinyl. You know, through a nice proper hi-fi back then.
Yeah. One of the pride and joy of my collection is I've got the Black Album on vinyl, and my God, you've got to put a coin on the tone arm of the record so that it stays down, because the album's that loud compared to most vinyl that it's trying to jump out. Yeah. But yeah,
insane.
So good. And
that's cool.
Yeah, what a beast. But yeah, that's what you can get from this. It's $40. So if you're interested in this Talkback Limiter, give that a go from Cornef. Awesome.
Interesting name.
Yeah. So Ibanez's new J Customs are out, and some of these look really pretty, and honestly, they look completely copied from Kiesel.
Sure. I'm not I don't do the 3 pickup thing. That middle single coil would just get in the way of me.
Well, you can always remove it.
I use the Jazz 3 jumbo size picks, and I literally just dig the piss out of the strings.
If I'm playing heavy stuff, I use a Jazz 3 Petrucci if I'm doing heavy stuff. They're just a little smaller. If you know those ones, they're not a Jazz 3 regular size. They're a bit bigger, but they're not the XL.
Pinky, yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, but they've got a really shiny tip and then a kind of satin finish with a logo further up, so you've got the grip.
So here's the original Jazz 3 here. Yeah. And this is the jumbo.
Yeah, I got loads of the XL jumbo ones at some point, and they're just a little too big for me. They give me cramp. So
I have big, fat fingers. This is the jumbo. And So I hold and then I hold the small one. The shit just disappears in my fingers.
Right, which is really good for squeals, though.
Oh, dude.
But
I've tried other picks like these big triangle.
Right.
Thick. I don't know. They're. I don't know.
No, it's funny. If on bass, I use the Dunlop Orange, which is 0.6 mil, 'cause it's just got enough give that I'm not really cramping up. I use them on acoustic as well, but generally on guitar I use Jazz 3, but the Petrucci model.
Nice.
So,
Jazz 3 grip. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to find that because I'm really trying to be accurate these days, I used to use these orange Dunlops and everything, but there's just a little too much give when I'm trying to do fine work on guitar, and that actually made me push harder with my hand, which would eventually lock up my wrist.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is a weird thing, but yeah, whatever works to get that really aggressive chug 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 sound.
Just a thick pick is probably just better for that.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't want to be playing with like a rock because there's thick and then there's real thick.
Sure. Mm.
But
So,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
some of them. I like that one. What's that? Yeah, what color would that be? Orange, aqua blue, and green. The second from the left.
Oh yeah,
That
this
definitely
one.
does look like a Kiesel. Now that you say that, yeah,
Yeah, that color treated fretboard. I mean, oh, that
yeah,
one. Yeah, I
yeah,
really like the look of that. I love quilted maple. Um, I have a bass that's actually at my dad's house where the body's a single piece of quilt
mm.
maple, and it's the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen. If you like quilted maple, otherwise you're looking at it going, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
But
Just, I mean, yeah.
yeah,
They
I mean, if I could get that, but with a solid tail, hardtail bridge, no locking nut, then
no
I would
piano.
be very happy.
Yeah, locking nut makes tuning very fun.
Yeah. I mean, if your tuners
That's
are good enough and your brake angle's right, unless you're doing crazy whammy dive bombs, you don't need that.
everyone. You know, the only question that I would ever ask Dimebag if he was still alive is how the shit do you keep your guitar in tune?
Yeah. Well, he goes, well, I don't, and then passes it to his tech and grabs another one.
That's true. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Tech spends the next song's worth of time trying to fine tune guitar number one again and finally cracks it just in time for the swap.
Pretty insane.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. What happened to Ibanez? They used to be all the rage, and then
Oh, I don't know.
they had
There's,
the '80s. They had the '80s neoclassical renaissance, and then the new
yeah.
metal renaissance, and then they just sort of fucking fell off the face of the earth.
Oh, I don't know. They've been making a comeback, especially with the whole kind of gent scene, because like they make the
Good call, good
Titan.
call.
They make the
Yeah.
Titan for Jake from Periphery. That's a big seller for them. They've just made a whole new Steve Vai model, the Pia, which actually looks really
Yeah,
nice.
Ibanez,
It,
for left, I guess.
hmm?
Vi's always been with Ibanez, right?
He had well for the longest time, but he's got it's his second signature model ever. Liam in the chat, Zinnews, Zinnews.
The news,
Yes,
Liam.
indeed.
I'm doing as best as I can.
Doing absolutely fine, man. But I mean, I really like the look of that, but I only worry that with like color treated fretboards that if I play the hell out of that for 5 years or so, is that all just gonna wear off?
That's a good question.
Or is it gonna wear into my hands? How is it sealed? What's it sealed on
Yeah.
with? That's the question. Because like if it's got a gloss finish over the top, I don't know about you, but I like gloss finish fretboards.
Does
Discuss.
it go faster for you?
A little. I just like the feel of it because the way that I play, I like to do a lot of like note bending and stuff on my solos, and I sweat
Yeah.
quite a bit when I'm playing, and I actually find that a glossy neck makes that a real smooth experience. Where if it's satin finish or just no finish, if I've got
Yeah.
really dry hands, it's really nice and smooth. But as soon as I'm on stage for half hour and I'm sweating, it feels gummy and sticky.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Plus, I think it's just an experience and nostalgia thing. I learned, well, I started playing bass on a copy of a Rickenbacker, and they're all gloss necks, like gloss back, gloss front, gloss everything. And I suppose I just got used to it. Oh, fretboard conditioner doesn't help, believe me. Fretboard conditioner does nothing. When you've been playing on stage for half an hour and you are covered in sweat, especially I've quite acidic sweat, doesn't matter what you've done to your fretboard, if it's unfinished, it suddenly feels like you're rubbing your hands up against, like a raw fence post.
Like sandpaper.
Yeah. So
playing drums, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
They just fly out of your hands.
Yeah. It's funny. I play drums a bit as well. Probably not nearly as much as you do, but I've got into using the ProMark Fire grains recently because they've just got a little bit of roughness in the stick,
Yeah,
and exactly
I'm
that.
all about the ping. It's Pro Marks I never really liked because they didn't feel top heavy enough for me, and I really rely on the rebound when you're
Right.
playing fast. You need the rebound.
You
And it
should
just felt like
should
dead weight to
definitely
me.
definitely check out their new range because I kind of found that they've got a new thing where they do like balanced forward and like a rebound model. And I've personally
Okay.
found the rebound model works perfectly for me, for that reason that
Nice.
yeah, it's the forward one's even more front weighted, and the rebound one's got a slightly thinner taper, so it's
Nice.
more back
Okay.
weighted. Depending on how you play, I suppose that could really change it.
It says roast me, but the only fretboard I like was graphite fretboard of my court.
Yeah, that's exactly the same philosophy as a gloss finish, where it is just a perfect grainless thing. I had for many years a status bass with a graphite neck, and that was the easiest thing to play ever. In the end, I ended up moving it on because it just wasn't the right sound for me, because it was like a really small body, headless, slap bass thing, and I wanted to go back to a jazz bass and have that real big, meaty, weighty, grindy thing, but easiest thing to play ever. For that exact reason, if you could keep the fretboard clean, there was no wood grain. So it was like playing on glass. It's beautiful.
Interesting.
But yeah, there's all these the prices to be confirmed on these, but the
Mid-tier
yeah.
price.
yeah. I'm really interested in these necks though. They've got these J Custom asymmetric super wizard necks that are made out of maple and
What does
purple
that
heart.
even mean?
Hmm?
What does that even mean?
What, asymmetric?
No, I mean like this. You know what I mean? Like the Ibanez that I have, it's narrow and thin. And
Yeah,
that's all I really care about.
right. Now
I can see, I suppose.
yeah, so that
Yeah.
sounds yours sounds like it's shaped like a Wizard 3 because there's different wizards which are like thin, really thin and stupid thin. And some people like them to be not stupid thin. And I like it to be not I like a thin neck, but there's a limit beyond which it gets crazy. But I've really been liking the idea of these asymmetric necks, really, where the kind of the bulge in the back is further up.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, because I play kind of like I call it the sock puppet, because I'm really used to playing like six. Yeah. So I put my thumb right in the middle of the fretboard, so there's usually a gap in the middle of my hand, but I don't do the whole thing where you wrap your thumb over and all that kind of stuff. My hand's fairly free because I play a lot of extended range bass. I play like 6 and 7 string bass, so I'm so used to doing this thing where I've got this huge range of motion that it feels wrong to me to wrap my hand around now, which means thick guitar necks feel like a baseball bat and they feel horrible. But that whole thing of having it asymmetric so that the lump in the back of the neck is further up would probably make the neck sit a bit more comfortably in my hand because of the way that I play. Which could be an interesting thing to check out. But yeah, I do like Purple Heart as well. I've played guitars with Purple Heart wood, and they're usually stable as you can possibly imagine because that thing's it's like someone's grown metal and then shaped it. I feel sorry for the workmen, but yeah.
When it comes to guitar necks, I mean, I'm all palm and no finger. I have very short fingers.
Me too.
So,
yeah.
I mean, like I put the 7-string, and my finger's the width of like the 7-string fretboard.
Yeah.
So it's no good.
Oh, you should see me with my sausage fingers playing on my 7-string bass. It looks comical. Because
How do you just like wrap the whole hand around there like this?
Yeah, literally like that. That's why I call it the sock puppet method. That like I have to play it like that with my thumbs in the middle of the backboard, maybe a little lower, And if I want to play a chord, I have to kind of twist my hand over almost, so I can reach the lower strings and the top strings all at once. So a guitarist to try and do these stretches to reach like that way across the fretboard, I'm doing these stretches to reach up and down across the fretboard. Yeah.
It's funny.
You get used to it, but it's still just weird as anything. Plus, I never take that 7-string bass on tour or anything because it weighs about 100 pounds.
Sure, that's got to feel real good on the neck for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I took it out to play with a. I took,
Did you say 7-string bass?
I did.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like playing an ironing board. It's great. I took it out just for fun to play at a wedding once because I used to play 3 weddings a week. And I had my regular jazz bass with me, and I played set 1 with the 7-string. And at the end of it, I kind of went, took it off, and never again.
That was fun.
Yeah, not doing that again. Nope.
Let's see here.
Yeah. So yeah, they're coming out soon. If you like Ibanez's, maybe get one of them. I probably would. But then there's other guitars out there that definitely come higher up in the list for me. Like, I'd love to have an Ormsby, for example. Or a Skirvison.
Probably would be better. All that being said, though, it's like I'm in Ukraine, so Ormsby's out of the question.
Right.
A lot of these cool. Well, maybe not. I could buy a solar guitar. Probably that would be okay. But most of these like Ormsby and Kiesel. I don't even know if I want a Kiesel, but I mean,
no. Option 50, everything. Yeah. Call my guys. 858 Kiesel.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, I saw that video series. I saw that whole thing.
Yes, indeed. I don't know.
Next.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Ormsby's actually closer to you than it is to me. But the Customs would absolutely kill you.
If he actually marked the price of the guitar, yes.
Yes, which is a business. I think they're kind of obliged to do that, so you're not getting away with that one.
I don't want to get in trouble for embezzlement.
No.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No fun.
So from
it's
that,
a gift.
Yeah,
it over.
It's a gift. So Moore R7 reverb. So this is a funky looking new thing from Moore. It's one of these tiny pedals. It's like this little thing. They're like, I don't have very big hands, and they're not very big. It's like half width of a Boss DS1, which I'll pull up. So like they're this big compared to a DS1. They're absolutely tiddly tiny, which means you can jam 1 million of them on one pedal board. And
that is exactly what one of my students who's in Guitar Tone Mastery was trying to do.
Right.
He's got mini versions of all of his pedals, like mini tube screamer, mini, all that stuff.
Actually, the Ibanez mini tube screamer is pretty good, but that's a whole different topic. I heard a couple of demos of it compared to a regular tube screamer, and I was like, I don't know why, but this one's really good. So yeah.
Sure.
Plus, guys like us don't use tube screamers like blues players anyway. It's like gain none, level yes.
I stopped doing that, by the way.
Yeah?
I stopped doing that. I try to keep the level at 12 o'clock now.
Ah, but you're not hitting actual like valve heads. So that makes sense for you. On real valve heads, you do that because it's the only way to really goose the gain into the first valve stage.
That makes sense. Yeah, not having real gear. Like with the amp sim, just keep that shit down the middle. Just adjust the tone a little bit, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, with an amp sim, if there's no need to boost the level, don't boost the level. It makes no sense. But yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you're plugging a guitar into a DI, you've already got a gain control right there to get the level right before it even hits the tube screamer in the amp, whereas in the real world you don't have one of those, so you use the output on your tube screamer to turn it up. Yeah. And then
that's why you do stuff like that's why you can still get a Maxon OD 808, the blue or the red one, Extreme.
Yeah.
That's why you can't create metal tones with the 2203. but you can't do that with an amp sim.
Yes.
Tried it.
It doesn't
You
quite
can't.
work.
It doesn't drive because I want to do a fucking genty tone. I just want to see if I could do it with an 800 2203,
Right.
but I can't. I can't get enough gain into the fucking amp
Ah.
without it going crazy. I mean, you can do the master and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
yay, pull the output down, but it's still tubby. It's not the same.
Yeah, I mean that's just a problem with amp sims. They never quite, to my ears, got the 800 because an 800 is not a gainy amp. Never was.
No, super low gain, man.
But yeah, definitely a kind of a badly kept industry secret is with an 800, don't use a tube screamer, use a clon. Because clones do things differently, and they keep a lot of the low end, but not in a bad way. And it makes this one raw. Because I don't know if you've seen the amp setup I've got here, but under my desk I've got a beer bottle.
Oh, we're under your desk now. I'm scared.
Yeah, I've got a 5150.
Jesus.
Yep, got a JCM 800, but it's the little Studio 20 watt model, but it sounds exactly like the real thing.
Nice.
I've usually got a 2 notes captor here, which I've left at the studio, but I'm going to get over the weekend with a cab modeler. But then I've got a new toy, which the viewers haven't seen, which is this Mesa V Twin. And that's going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to using that. Now they have, and it's going to be amazing. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to using that. Because it's basically a dual rectifier, but without the power section.
Got a picture video there a little bit.
That's weird. It's not the first time it's done that. If I do that and do that again, yeah. I mean, sometimes I do that and it just changes the whole thing. Mother flipper. There we go.
Mother flipper. There you go.
You flipping.
Reverb. I'm really bad about using reverb. Actually, I prefer to use delay.
Yeah, I do, especially on solos. But it depends what I'm doing. I mean, these kind of things now, these really clever digital reverbs can do that whole like crystal-y, crazy ambient reverb where you play one nice chord and let it ring for a couple of days, and you're just like, oh, this is nice. And for me, that's a very different thing than just like a bit of plate reverb or whatever. Because yeah, I tend to have my amps so dry. It can be quite unforgiving on you playing, but then in a mix, as you'll well know, that's what makes it brutal.
Yep.
Because you're not.
By the way, Maurice, thanks for the comment, man. Really nice of you.
Yes. Yeah. Maurice in chat. Yeah. I have a copy of Scott's course as well, and I've been working my way through it, and it's really, really cool. But yeah, not far off actually there, Mark. Delay seems to work better with heavy and reverb for more rock, but it very much depends on the band, the application, the speed of the song can be a big thing. Yeah. Like if you're doing doom metal that's at like 4 BPM,
you need reverb.
Yeah, lots of reverb to go with that huge sustain, so that when you do change chord about 3 hours from now, you'll feel that.
Black metal does too. They like creating the atmosphere where like you're in the forest somewhere listening to the guitars. I'm just not. I can't get with it. You know, I like to have not a modern black metal, not a modern sound, but I mean, I like to have the instruments audible.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You actually won't be able to hear them above the cacophony of reverb.
Cacophony, serious. So, yeah, the only Mesa Thready compared to Victory pedal amps.
Oh, if I can get hold of some the Victory pedal preamps, that'd be a good thing. But I'll add that to the ever-growing list of videos to do.
Sure.
Because
is that just mono?
Hmm?
Pedal is external power supply, buffer bypass, and mono.
Mono, yeah.
Nice.
What this one? Well, it's very rare that the amps are stereo. I mean,
true.
Why would every amp I've got every amp I've got is mono. Because I always wanted but never got a Roland JC120 because they weigh as much as a small house. I mean, for a solid state amp, they are so heavy.
Fucking solid state.
Yeah, but there's only one amp that sounds good that's solid state, and that's a Roland JC120. For some reason, that
Oh,
amp...
come on now. All those Marshall fucking 8100s are going to be writing angry comments to you right now.
Yeah, they don't sound good, but they don't sound good on purpose, much like an HM2 with all the controls maxed doesn't sound good on purpose, if you know what I mean. It's a genre where sounding good is optional.
That's true. That's true. You can make the 8100. The Audiority has done their version of a 8100, and you can get it sounding pretty decent if you
Yeah.
have a nice cabinet.
What I might do, I've been looking out for an 8100 actually, because what I've seen a couple of guys do that really kind of piqued my interest is 8100s. They have a very chainsawy high end, and not much in the mids. But then I've got a 5150, which is all mids and not a lot else. Quad track, 2 of each. Yeah.
Yeah.
So suddenly,
Marshall valve.
yeah.
Yep.
And that's the kind of thing where on its own it's terrible, but mixed in with another amp that's not really got enough definition but has the mid-range guts and the balls, it kind of just goes together. Especially in modern stuff where you don't want to be overly EQing out high-end, even if you want that fizzy aggression. And if, like me,
that's hard to deal with.
Yeah. But that's especially something like an 8100, it's a characteristic of it, though, right? So you can get rid of the harsh peaks, but it still has that grinding chainsaw thing.
You have the... I don't remember what it's called. It's not a tone knob. You know what? You know why I like Reaper so much? Is I can just open it in 2 seconds. Right now.
Load it up and... Oh, the knob's called... Oh, that one.
What is it?
Bass, middle, treble.
Oh,
this amp has that circuit.
Contour. Yeah.
Contour. So right, yeah, so it is exactly that.
Yep, the 8100 that Audiority did, it's got gain, 2 gain stages actually, a bass, middle, treble, contour, volume. You got a reverb pot on this thing too. And you have a clean channel.
You have a reverb knob constantly stuck to 0. You try and take it above 0 and it just comes up with nope.
Nope. We quit.
So, yeah, this Mua reverb is €99 and it's got a USB socket and you can change things. But yeah,
black square now.
Yeah, it's mono, but I mean it's designed to be used with an amp, so why not? If you got €99 and you want to buy one of these, go for it.
Can you see me?
No, you've disappeared.
Gosh darn it!
Oh no, there you go. It's my own fault because I'm an idiot. I minimized Discord.
Why would we talked about this?
We talked about a lot of things.
Right.
And last but not least for the news this week, there is an absolutely horrible Gibson Zakk Wylde Les Paul Custom for sale that's been covered in Swarovski plastic.
Why?
Because Swarovski. So apparently it's 20 grand. And it's covered in Swarovski crystals and 24 karat gold. So if anybody's got far more money than sense, and they want to get an EMG loaded Gibson that's covered in,
fucking never liked
dollar
the
store
design.
plastic.
No.
I always liked the design, but I didn't want one. It's one of those things where I saw it and I went, that's cool. Do you want one? No.
No, never. One of the first guitars I ever played was an old Les Paul, but I just never liked the shape. It was weird.
Now I do like the Les Paul shape. My number one guitar is a Les Paul, but it's got bare knuckle juggernauts in it, so it's not your average Les Paul.
Yeah,
there you go. It struggles a little on anything below drop C sharp, but even so, that's fairly low. And
that is pretty low, dude.
If I did, well, it's kind of
low.
It's E flat tuning with a drop, so it's not crazy low.
Oh, you're doing that. All right. But still, I mean, it's pretty low.
Yeah, and some of the sounds I can get out of that have got some real like mid-range bark to them, and I like that out of a guitar tone. I didn't start on a Les Paul though. I started on a Strat copy, which I still have behind me. Oh, there we go. My old thing. Jack from Jack's Instrument Services is putting me together a new scratch plate for this right now, which has 2 humbuckers in it and some very clever switching. So that's going to be great when I get that back, and I've blocked off the trem completely now on that.
Adam, you just go off the rails with this. I am so vanilla. I want, actually, I just want a 7-string with just a neck pickup.
Just
That's
a neck pickup.
Oh,
Oh,
not a neck. Sorry.
oh right,
sorry,
okay. I was gonna say that's a bit like off the wall.
Not neck,
but
not neck. Bridge pickup, and then
just a neck pickup, a single coil with only 2 pole pieces in
a
it.
single coil. Yeah. There we go. No, a bridge pickup. I don't want any selectors, any switches.
Right.
Well,
Well,
I just want straight power into the.
funnily enough, I say I want a crazy switching system. In that, basically. I like playing strats, but I hate where the volume control is. I always catch it with my finger. So I'm getting him to remove both of the tone knobs and move the volume knob right the way down. Right to the bottom. So if I need it, I can reach down for it. But when I'm playing, even if I'm being completely wild, I'm not going to catch it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it's I'm getting him to do a coil tap on... But it's push on the volume. So instead of push-pull, if I'm playing, I can just hit it with my fist and go bonk, and it'll just change. So mid-show, if I'm playing a show, I don't have to stop for push-pull and try and get my hand around it while I'm holding a pick, and
Yeah, I can punch it.
bonk. And it's got this 4-way switch, which has neck, both, and bridge, but the 4th selection is neck and bridge in series, which is a very different sound. Usually on a Strat or whatever, they're in parallel. And yeah.
Have another beer, Adam.
Yeah. Oh, I will. I'm a studio nerd. I mean,
that guitar is hell. We can close that.
Yes, indeed. Well, and if I close this,
sure,
it's going to come up with this week's sponsor spot, which is this guy. This is Guitar Tone Mastering. I'm just going to move that a little so we can actually read it. There we go. So this guy here, some guy, never seen him before.
He's one ugly bastard. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, you've seen him more than I have, so I'll believe you.
Oh, you're a funny guy now. Yeah, look at you.
And so Scott has made a course which specifically talks about getting great tones out of virtual guitar amps. And it's very methodical. There's definitely a process and a philosophy, isn't there? It's not just you do this, thanks, bye.
Yeah, exactly. No, I made the process for myself, first of all, because I wanted to make sense of it. And then I adapted it and, did as much as I could to answer the questions that I had, like, why do I have to do this here? Why do I have to do that? Well, how can I do this? How can I do that? And then I developed basically my way of doing it that I've been repeating and refining for years. And finally decided, I was like, there's probably a lot of people who are having the same questions that I had. So here we go.
Yeah.
Talk to a master.
Awesome. And so this is on sale right now. It's cheaper than usual. It's $77, and it's being sold through, if you've seen Warren Hewitt on my channel, who has produced like a pro, also runs Pro Mix Academy, and so Pro Mix Academy is where this course is on sale. Same place that my Reaper course is on sale. Yep. So I've put a link in the chat, which I will throw in the description if I haven't already. I think I already did, but I'll check that. And if
But
you
I
buy
can just
that,
say that
then
there are well over. I don't know the exact numbers, but I would feel comfortable saying hundreds of people have seen this now, and I had to spend a day 2 days ago going through all the emails and comments that I got because it was just an explosion
that's
of
incredible.
people who are going, "Oh my god, thank you! I finally get it now." Because
Mm,
it's not like a hack or like, "Hey, here's some presets, have fun." Hee hee hee. There are no presets in the course. I don't really believe in presets, at least when
yeah,
you're first starting out. I actually put a video on my channel where I said presets are an illusion of progress because you still don't know what the fuck you're doing when you use them anyway. And so
yeah,
only when you actually know how to tweak and create your own presets are presets useful. So presets are only useful for the people that already know how to use them. That is the irony of life, right?
yeah.
But that's the truth. And so
Oh
there's
yeah.
courses about
I spent years building up my own presets that I would use sometimes, and then every time end up changing the thing. And eventually, I gave up and was like, you know what? I'll make it from scratch every time because it's quicker.
it's faster. It's
Yeah,
usually fast because you load the preset, then you're like, okay, we're good now. Then you mess around a little bit. You're like, oh, something's not quite right. It's just not. And you're just in preset mode. So you're like, I just want to do as little as possible because it's a preset. It
yeah.
should be fine. And it doesn't work. So I don't even have presets for my guitar tones. I don't save any of the guitar tones I create because I know I can do it again.
Uh-huh.
So and if I need to do a riff really quick, I'll just open up like Nameless and whatever the default is there, that's the default, and I'll just
Mm.
rip it out really quick. I don't spend any time on it.
And then later on, you use the skills that you have to do that thing.
That thing, that thing. I use those skills that I had to do that thing that I've done.
That thing with the stuff. Yeah. That
Yeah.
that
You
button that does
jiggle
the
that
thing.
thing again? Yeah, no, but for real, all trolling aside, if you struggle at all understanding even what to do, where to start, why you need to do something, grab this because, like Adam just said, this is the most affordable it has ever been.
Yeah.
This course is about a year old now. These videos are newer. I re-recorded everything. I experimented where I had different versions of this course, and when I had a $77 version, it was an essential version, which meant I had no free lifetime updates and no in-depth training. I just had the core ideas. Well, now for 77, you get the whole thing plus the free updates for life. So,
Mm. And there's things
yeah,
in there now, like there's like cheat sheets for if you're coming back to it from a while later. There's
yep.
there's there's
There
exercises you can do in there.
recommendations, exercises. I have like bullet points of questions that you can actually ask yourself when you're creating tones that I would ask myself that you can get away from comparing what you're doing based on the sound that you want to get. Because fuck that sound, forget that sound. You're working on your sound, and so there are questions that are built around what you're hearing with your gear, so that you can create the best sound you can with what you have. And
Mm.
yeah, it's all meta, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
that's the long and short of it. Really, it's a complete proving method. Glenn Fricker adopted it. Maybe you'll probably adopt it if you're going to use amp sims.
Thoroughly
It,
intend to.
yeah, it will work.
You might be surprised because I watched a little bit of the course already, but I've got to find a few days now to really ingest it and really go through it. And what I did see, I've already started applying to relamps as well because it's the same philosophy. I mean, there's some of it that's specific to virtual guitar amps, but beyond that, I mean, the philosophy doesn't really, I think, change that much. There are a couple of things that are like easy mode when you're using real amps if
Of course.
you've set the first half up properly. Like
Sure.
if you set your amp up properly, then it is a little easier, but the method is very much the same.
Yep. There's a couple things that I do different. Like I'll just say right off the bat, I work the tone stack backwards.
Mm.
reason why that happened is because I always struggled with dialing too much high end and too much presence in the beginning with amp simulators because it always sounded cool, right? And
Mm.
only through experience, um, I just started setting those parameters first, and that's how I
Yeah.
do it now. So in the course, I actually, we set everything up, and the tone stack is actually one of the last things you do, and I explain all that and all why you got to do that.
Yeah.
But we work, from high frequencies to low, and that seems I have the best success with that. I'm really fast at it,
Mm.
and I know the common wisdom is like you do your gain, you do your bass, and, but I mean like Marshalls doesn't have it like that,
No.
some other amp sims don't set up their tone stack like that. You start
It's
with the presence first,
it's always
so it's very
completely different. Yeah. Like it's the 800 I've got under this desk here. I've just looked at the settings that I used last, and the presence is on 2.
yeah.
But it
Yeah.
sounded right. It sounded great. It's funny, isn't it? How if you look with your eyes and don't use your ears, you just go, "Oh, well, why do I have this problem?" And it's like, well,
Yeah,
because
that
everything
can't
looks right. So
sure. Or you start second guessing. See, that's the other thing too. So that's why I said there's no presets, and I don't EQ or do things by numbers. I don't think I ever mentioned like what frequency I've EQ'd by how much in this course because it's meaningless.
yeah,
I always mention what sound I'm trying to deal with and what sound I'm trying to get. So because I don't see the point of just me opening up the plugin and being like, all right, so let's see here. 294 hertz looks like they did a minus 2.7 dB cut.
yeah,
Cool. All right, so next one, that's nonsense. I mean, why did you make the cut? What's the
yeah.
problem there?
Hmm.
What's happening? Is this something you should pay attention to in the future? Uh, and then that's when you can apply everything to the new stuff that you're making. So you'll watch what I do, right? And I do 4 completely different tones with completely different signal chains. I even
Right.
do a completely free one. Like Adam just showed up above, there was an Ignite Amps screenshot above there. That's
Yes, there was
that one right there. That's a
emissary.
completely free chain. I make that tone a completely free chain. If you saw the Glenn Fricker Tone Wars video, completely free chain again, except for the cabinet impulse. But the cabinet impulse is okay because you can invest $12 in a nice cabinet impulse
Yes,
response.
not breaking the
Sure,
bank. Right.
right?
It's worth mentioning what someone
You
in
don't want
chat
to blow
just
100.
mentioned that there are some Lancaster IRs included. Is that
Yep,
right?
there are. So you get 4. You
Yeah.
get the Angle Pro cab, which is my favorite. I use that thing on everything right now. You get the Wagner Uber cab.
Ah.
You get the Heritage Marshall Heritage. I think it's the G75. I don't remember it
Yeah.
off the top right now.
G12H. That
Yeah,
would be. Well, it would be G12H30 Heritage then, or G12M25.
I can't
Uh,
remember. I think it's 25s.
so the
And
M
then you get
greenback.
the nice
Yeah.
oversized cab.
Yeah, that one's definitely the most naturally scoopy of the speakers. The M, G12M.
Well, I can tell you right now, actually, Lancaster Audio Chernobyl Studios bundle. Heritage G12H75,
Yeah.
and that's a badass one.
Hmm.
That's a badass one. But so and that's like it's one of those things where you will get this. You are guaranteed to learn something, and you will create better tones. I'm 100% comfortable saying that because I've done it. I've seen people do it. I have hundreds of people who are already doing it. And I know Glenn, if he thought the method was garbage, he would say so for everyone to hear loud and clear.
Yes, I mean, if Glenn, who has been doing this a long time,
Yeah.
is saying that it sounds great, and actually his most recent videos have all sounded incredible, and I was wondering actually before I met Scott, I was like thinking, how's he done this? This is different. And it turns out he watched Scott's course. So yeah, if Glenn's saying that is the thing, and actually I know Glenn as a friend, and he's told me this as well. It's not just something he said for some sort of sales thing. He actually believes it. And
it's been a long time.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty big. And so if
it's a huge proof positive, when your peers basically go, "Hey, good job," and
absolutely.
Listen, again, I'll preface this. Some people are gonna say like, "Hey, I don't have," and it's perfectly fine. I don't have a good guitar. I don't have the right. I used the. Can you do me a favor,
Go on.
Adam? Open up Musician's Friend, and do a Google search for the Ibanez GRG Geo 7221. This is a $200 guitar.
So this is what Scott's using right now.
You probably have to use a VPN if it doesn't ship. You might. I think it's states only, but it's a $200 guitar.
7221.
It looks like
that's that one, I think. Yeah. So it's So for us, it's £225 Ibanez Geo. Yeah, that one.
That's even a better one. That's a better version.
Oh right. Oh wow.
That's a better version. So that's the guitar I used, right? And I have the first generation 2i2.
The Scarlet.
Yeah. I have the first one, and people don't understand what that means. Well, Adam, what does the first generation Scarlet mean?
It means it's the cheapest and cheapest interface that Focusrite make, and I'm not filled with confidence by Focusrite's lowest end stuff to begin with, but the first generation was garbaggio.
And how did you fix the high Z input, Adam?
I got a DI box. Well, the other option is hit it with a hammer. Yeah.
What was the manufacturer recommendation for fixing the high Z problem, Adam?
Oh, the manufacturer's recommendation: get a DI box.
There you go. Yeah. So
when it's that bad that even they're saying, do that.
Yeah. So, So you don't need the super best gear. You just need to learn what you're listening for. And listen, up front, you're gonna have to work harder if you have gear that's not super high quality. That's the truth of the matter. But now you will at least know exactly what you need to listen for and how to get what you need. All right. And it's not that looks more like it.
Oh,
it's
the
glossy finish, right?
Yeah. Actually, behind me, I have kind of its little sister. I've got this little Ibanez Geo in white, 6-string, and I've been getting some tones with this recently because it's the only guitar I have in the house right now. And I mean, it's terrible. But if you can get great sounds out of one of these, well.
Yeah. It's just the pickups are absolute garbage. They're just low mid monster mud machines.
Yep.
And,
absolutely terrible. That one right there, actually. That one in that picture.
That's it. Yeah,
but they very carefully cropped out the logo and.
Exactly. And it's like I can't see the art boxes I can't see the comment.
Oh, what do you guys think of the ART boxes for DI and reamp? Welcome to Noise City. Nah. I would not. If you're gonna get a DI, honestly, Behringer stuff is actually good. Genuinely. If you can go a step up from Behringer, maybe jump up all the way from Behringer to Radial, because anything in between is going to shortchange your tone. And reamp boxes, there really isn't anything below Radial quality at the moment that's going to do anything good for you. So, yeah, that's my opinion. And actually, let's just paste this in chat again one more time and just move on, because this course is on sale for the next 2 days. So if you do fancy it, get it quick before it becomes expensive.
And also, there's exclusive Facebook and Discord chats. Like I am anal about that. Nobody except people who are in Guitar Tone Mastery get into those pages, into those chats.
Yes.
So they're very highly curated. All the people there are really cool. You don't have any idiots or spamming or trolling and stuff. It's all very highly curated.
Mm,
Lots of really cool guys there. So, um, and I'm there too. Adam's actually part of the team too because he's
I
in
am
the
indeed.
course. So
Yes.
he it's a lot of fun now. It's way different than like a Discord with no mods or anything like that. Everything goes off the rails, but
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, that'd be cool. But
Yes.
anyway, yeah.
So let's move on to something that doesn't have our faces multiplied. And so it's that's this weird camera thing again. I think when I rotated the camera, there we go. It just
Yeah.
kind of turned the video to be like half the resolution because blah.
Mother, my guitar player teaches his.
So yeah, it's question time.
I can't see.
The Bommel is one of my regular viewers. Says his guitar teacher plays his Geo instead of his €6,000 Warrior, or his Fender Strats and Les Pauls still does. Just says it's his working horse, and plays well and stays in tune. Apparently,
Stays in tune. I have to admit, the Geo stays in tune. It does.
yeah. Mine doesn't, but mine's got a trem. So take from that what you will.
You're just like you're a masochist. It's all right.
Well, I didn't buy it. It's my girlfriend's.
How to make sure your girlfriend doesn't become a guitar nerd? Here's your first guitar, sweetie. It's got a tremolo system.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. It's a good point. So there was a question further up, which I'll read, which was, when mixing multiple virtual instruments in a live performance setup, and I think this is important, is it generally better to use the plugin's own reverb, or route the instruments through a bus and add a single reverb to that bus? So, my answer to that, and I don't know about you, Scott, would be have a separate reverb. Don't use the reverbs. Yeah, because in a live environment, you need easy access to things. Very quickly, when you're in the middle of a performance, you might decide you've got too much or too little reverb going on. And the fact that you don't have to spend ages clicking through a load of GUIs to change things, and you can just go, oh, fader, less. That's a big deal to me.
That's why people carry around, like you might see people who have two 4x12s, where one is just for the tone, the other is strictly for effects.
Yes, wet dry.
For that exact reason.
Yeah, and then when the rest of the band gets really upset with them, they can just turn the wet one off. It's like, oh, we can hear you again.
Shit.
Yeah, when you've got a wet dry and then the guitarist on stage in a wash of reverb and the sound guy only mic'd up the dry side, so everybody out front is...
Yeah.
Idiot, you say? You can put a little bit of reverb out front of house and just be like, oh, we can hear the guitarist. And we can hear everybody else around him.
Whammy bar, dislike whammy bar very much.
Yeah, whammy bars are not good. It is not 1988 anymore. I mean, whammy bars are fun for about 20 seconds to go, and then you're done.
They're just so incredibly annoying to work with, to tune. You got the trem bridge. No, I'm good.
Yeah, I've started blocking off any trems that I do by shoving a piece of wood in the back. And any guitars that I have that are hard tail bridge. I mean, the Strat that I have that I've blocked off, hopefully within the next few months, I'm going to be fitting it with this. If you can see that box. Yes. Evertune.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I've got a Strat Evertune now, but I need to get all the wiring back for this guitar so I can wire it up and do a before and after. Because if I'm going to make...
funny question for you.
Go on.
So you got your Evertune, and I know you optimize it and get it ready to go, optimal for the tuning range that you want to work at.
Yes.
So what happens if you want to do like some crazy full and 1/2 step bends and shit like that?
Right. There's different ways that it works depending on how you tune it. They call it Zone 1 and Zone 2. I did a lot of reading up on this. So you
I have
actually you change the tuning with Allen keys at the bridge. Once it's in
right.
tune, what you can do with the tuning heads is you decide whether you're in zone 1 or zone 2 for each separate string. If you're in what they call zone 1, I believe, then no matter how much you do bends and stuff, it's straight in tune.
It's good. Yeah.
But what you do is you tune it up and up and up until you almost just bite that kind of, and it just starts to get to the top of the Evertune, and you leave it just below that, and that way when you go for bends on that string, the Evertune hits like a limit and stops, and then you can bend the string.
Huh. So it's like hacking the okay.
But it's very much by design. They actually do like that. Have videos on their site about that. Like, if that's what you want to do with it, cool. Because not everybody wants an Evertune for the heavy. Some guys just want it so they can put it under the stage lights and it won't go flat.
Fair. I mean, fair. Yeah.
It's different applications for different people, I guess. I mean, the way I'm thinking of using it is have the bottom 2 strings, maybe 3 strings, with the whole zone 1 thing, so I can really smash them and they stay in tune. And then have the higher strings just on that edge. So if I want to do some bends on a solo piece, I'll probably have to bend a little further than I'm used to and kind of get used to that. But yeah, it'll leave the option open for me.
Yeah, I've thought about it for a long time. Like, would I want an Evertune? I probably would not get one. I have a nerve damage in my left hand, so if I have to bend the string any higher than I have to now, my finger will just collapse on itself. I don't have these anterior muscles in my hand. It's very atrophied. So
Well, that's
I don't have the extra finger power.
Did you just motion to bend strings like downwards?
I bend string down because I can't push them up.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. That I get you. I mean,
yeah. I can make a fist. That's fine, but I can't extend. Like, I can't do this motion with my fingers.
Right. Okay.
So I physically can't do it. You see, everything just collapses.
Yeah. Well, the other thing with an Evertune is because it keeps everything in tune consistently, you can use lighter string gauges.
That's a good call.
So you're not suddenly having to use like a 60 on the low string anymore. So then you have bendier strings, but they're still in tune.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fair.
Yeah, so you could really experiment with that.
Would you ever upgrade your guitar, or do you know the Geo? Yeah, I know the Geo perfectly, and I know that I want to upgrade it.
Why not both?
Because why not? And man, it would be really interesting to see what it's like to not have to work so damn hard to get guitar tones, and to know what that side feels like. And I'm very interested how pickups affect the tone. I would be very curious to try EMGs. I would be very curious to try Fishmans and just work through the pickups and see how everything changes. Because I know that these stock pickups, I've had that guitar for 6 years, by the way, now. So those are the stock pickups that came from the factory. I still even have the cardboard box that it came in. I never even bought a case for it. So
actually, to be fair, none of my guitars are in cases.
So it's I would like to, because I know the pickups make a difference, but I just never was like, oh, I can't get a good tone because I don't have pickups. I was like, nope, there's got to be a way to do this. It'll just be way harder. And Guitar Tone Mastery is made on all budget gear. No $3,000 guitars or anything. It's all. I even have a PDF about that. Every single piece of my gear that I use, right down to the strings, the string gauge, the type of cable that I have. Everything is very transparent. So
not tone transparent, just personally transparent.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing too. I've gotten questions in email, and people like my dad and my wife are like, "Dude, that's it's like proprietary. You should copyright it somehow or protect it from people stealing it." I'm like,
how?
You can't.
Yeah,
you can't, and I'm not worried because they can't make my guitar tones because they're not me. So I'm really
Yeah.
It's not a big deal to me.
That has always been my philosophy, that I give everything away almost on the YouTube channel about what I do. I will talk people through an entire mix. And then people say like, well, why can't I mix like that? And it's like, well,
You still got to put the work in. Okay,
yeah.
we told you that.
Yeah,
It's just like
come
learning how
back
to
in 10
drive.
years.
Yeah, you can. I can talk you through how to drive. Like I could sit you in my chair and then mix the song for you, or like you do all the movements and mix all the song, but you're not doing the thinking. You're
Yeah.
not doing the listening. So you're just participating in the act without knowing, without having the deeper understanding of it. And so,
Yes.
but what will happen is when someone goes through guitar tone mastery and whatever, they'll just have their own taste. They'll have their own stuff. They'll naturally gravitate to what they want to hear,
Mm.
and it won't be my sound because they're not me. So I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah. So one more question, and I think it's time to wrap things up. We're already 50 minutes over our usual hour. I say usual hour. We never go for an hour. We've never gone for an hour. So one from Jayant that's probably a good one. Any notes on string gauges for heavier tones and lower tunings? Not really, no. I can give you general advice is get strings that feel right. Go with a standard gauge if you're in a standard tuning. Then go up a gauge for every semitone you go down as a general good guide.
Yeah, and so you'll have tree trunks by the time you get to fucking G sharp.
Yeah, and if it gets to the point where your strings are too thick, they don't resonate properly anymore. If you really, really, really want to play in that tuning, then you start looking at alternatives like backing off the string gauge a little and trying to play a bit lighter. If you can't do that, look for a different guitar with a longer scale length or an extra string. Or generally those go hand in hand. I do tend to find that I've never seen like a Les Paul scale 7-string that sounded any good, for instance. But then that's, I think actually Matt Heafy from Trivium has his Epiphone Les Paul is a 7-string. But then he just said that he tracked his entire last album with an Evertune. So at that point, if you're using an Evertune, string gauge doesn't really matter. You can then go back to just standard.
Within reason. I mean, you cannot go and fucking drop G with a pair of 40s. Come on.
Well, actually, the Evertune do special low tension saddles, so maybe you could.
I mean, why? I mean, okay, there's you can, but do you need to?
Well,
do you need to?
This is metal. Do we need to do anything? It's just like, why are you playing a 21-string guitar? Because.
Yeah. No, I drop. Let's see. I've done as low as, I don't know what you call this. It's either A sharp or G flat, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
With my string. And that's about the threshold where you cannot do intricate riffs anymore. You just can't hear the notes. There's no note definition.
Yes.
So I don't understand anybody who's going to go in 8 or 9-string guitars with double drop vagina tunings.
Yeah.
And do anything worth a damn, personally speaking.
I mean, you end up pushing something like a Tube Screamer so hard to try and clean all the low end out and just get rid of it.
Well, what's the point of the extra 2 strings?
Well, for most people, that is the question. There's the very rare person who can do good things with multiple strings higher up the neck but they're so rare. Everybody I've seen who goes gets 8s and 9 strings gets one, and then goes bow 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 on a single string. And well, why didn't you just get a 6-string and put thicker strings on it?
Yeah, you can do drop A on a 6-string.
Yeah,
you just don't have you don't have the high. What is it, high E, I guess, or what? I don't know what it's called. But I mean, you have the drop A on a 7-string. I think is perfect. Just that is rubbish. Just silly. I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. Extended range guitars are cool, like you said, if the person is using it.
Yes.
But just to go chuggity chug 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 chuggity chug chug chuggity chug chug on the lowest string, it just sort of you can do that in standard E and it still sounds heavy because there's
Yeah.
this thing called wait for it, hold on. There's this thing called a bass guitar.
Quite. Dun dun dun.
So, but it's extra bass strings is really cool.
For jazz,
We
yeah, but
always gotta make an asterisk. You know, some people are just ridiculous musicians and they can have that. That's fine.
yeah.
Most people are not.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many possibilities. I've just had a Telecaster. I say a Telecaster. It's got EMGs in. It's like a modern telly. I took it to my guitar tech, who set it up to be in drop B, and that's got 59 gauge at the bottom, which I could have gone a lot thicker. And at one point, I tried going thicker. I think I had a 68 on there, and it just didn't resonate. It was so stiff, and it took a lot of movement to get it going. And it just didn't. I think because of the weight of the string, it just sounded muffled, even as a brand new set of strings.
Sure. It's choked, is what you're trying to say.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah, it's choked.
Yeah, so I moved it back to a 59 gauge, but the tech had done things like he had burrowed out the nut width so that it rang properly. He completely repositioned the bridge so that there was more room for the intonation, because that's another thing. Intonation's a real pain at lower tunings. Because
especially if you try to, hot rod a guitar that's not meant for it.
Yeah.
But this comment here, I think his name's Chris. I can't read the text.
Chris is one of my co-hosts.
Oh, cool, Chris. He says A string stuff, find bass more important. That's because you thinned out the guitar sound so much.
Yeah. Just to make the guitars audible. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you realize there's no low end at all. So then that's why the bass is so important.
Yeah.
The actual bass guitar.
Yes.
So I mean, you can sound heavy in E flat, and all this. Drop D can be heavy as balls.
Yeah.
Because you have a bass guitar, and that's the secret. That is the honest to God truth. It's not the lower tunings. I love lower tunings. I play in drop A. It's probably my favorite tuning. Yeah. But when I'm not playing drop A, I'm in E flat.
Mm. Do you ever find that without scooping all the low end out, the lower you go, kind of the slower you have to play to let it ring, to let that clarity come through? Have you ever noticed that? Because I certainly have.
That's why you lose the intricacy of playing faster notes on lower strings, because it's still physics. Audio waveforms at lower frequencies will still develop slower than higher ones. We can't do anything about it, and so that's another reason why I found myself enjoying Engel amps a lot, is because you can still get the low end note gnarly pick definition in a drop A with their amps, and you lose that with like a Mesa. I don't know, maybe I just fucking suck at dialing in Mesas, which could perfectly be fine. I'm not good at everything, but I'm just attuned to angles. I don't know why.
One last thing to round it out, I think, just to kind of prove the point. My number one bass behind me, good old jazz bass.
4 strings.
4 strings, but it's also got like upgraded electronics and stuff, but that's by the by. It's got one of the heaviest, most aggressive growling tones. And it's tuned, so it's got like a lever so I can do drop D, which is clever. So I can kind of do that on stage. So I'm playing quite often in E flat, so it'll be going down to drop C sharp with one of the most brutal tones. Guess the string gauge on it.
No clue. It can't be that thick.
Well, that's it for a bass. And I'm a pretty aggressive bass player. No guess.
I have no idea.
So my lowest string is 100 gauge. That's it. So I go 180, 60, 40. And
so how do you get that sound?
the amp, bass amps naturally can just lift low end out. And because I've not got heavy strings, the top end on the strings naturally resonates and comes through. So
Nice.
I've got more to work with the amp EQ controls. I'm not trying to force something in that isn't there.
Sure.
And I've always found that lighter strings give me a far clearer sound, and I just have to not absolutely be a complete mashing monster.
Jesus out of them, yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm
True.
still pretty aggressive with it, but if I play with a pick, I play quite near the bridge, which for a bass player isn't that common. But I play with my fingers up near the neck as well, but you can see how far my strings move. Like that's without exaggeration how far it will go. But
It sounds pingy though. It already sounds pingy.
exactly, that's just coming through the mic.
That's a really nice high end. I would have a high end like that in a mix.
Yeah, well that's it. And then if I want, I can use dark glasses and things to bring that out. But I'm not trying to find something that didn't already exist. Yeah, and
pingy top end.
if I use thicker strings, I lose all that because the weight is physically holding it back. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Self-dampening the harmonics, because how do you dampen things? If you look at reverb calculations, it's mass. Reduce mass, reduce dampening. Reduce dampening, you get more resonance. More resonance means a clearer tone. So that's probably a good place.
So maybe it's we should all go back to standard E.
Yeah. Or at least we should do all our drop tunings in like 10 to 46 gauge.
10 to 46. Drop D and 10 to 46. But, yeah. It's good stuff. So Adam, before we go, it's been
Go
a
on.
big to be on here with you today, chatting with news. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. It's been a huge
Say
pleasure.
that Adam Steele is the best name I've ever fucking heard. It is masculine. You can be your own porn. You don't even have to change your name if you want to be a porn star. Adam Steele.
Well, who says
Jackpot.
I haven't? Everybody gets Googling instantly.
Yeah, Adam Steele. Oh God, it's the wrong genre. So absolute blast. Had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
Would be happy to do it
I'm
again.
just going to post that one more time. That is the link to Scott's course there, if anybody is interested. So I think that it's time to sign off. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Join us on the Discord, which will be in the chat and in the comments as well, because then we can carry on this conversation after the show. I'm going to put this up on iTunes and Spotify now.
Cheers.
And I'll see you tomorrow night, I think, for another stream. And then we'll see you over the weekend. So thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll see you next Thursday for the podcast. Same bat time, same bat channel. Goodbye.